Alright guys, so so I think I found the definitive justice sound. So we're gonna go through that right here. Anyway, so I know I made a video called The Ultimate Thrash Tone. Maybe I shouldn't have called it that. So I'm like, okay. So this one, all right, so this is the difference here. So I took it off the 0.1 watt mode because there's this thing where it's like the 0.1 watt mode basically kind of compacts it too much and you don't get this sort of clearance right here. Right? You don't get that freedom. So somehow it kind of holds you back a little bit. So what I've done is I've put it in the normal 1 watt mode, but it's basically like right at volume 1 because anything above that it's way too loud for this room. I know you probably can't hear it because the amp is on the floor. Unfortunately, I can't put it all over here because it's kind of this weird kind of configuration where I'm using like a different cabinet from like a different amplifier, but it's a 112 Celestion, 7080, and then so it's kind of like coming over here. I can hear it. If you can't hear it, just turn it up. I mean, everybody now has like a Bluetooth speaker, right? So just turn up the volume. I'm trying to speak as loud as I can. And oh, one more thing. If you can't understand what I'm saying, turn on the closed caption. Because I know there's people around the world that are, watching this. When I was running the Metal Journey channel, well, I guess I'm still running it, but that channel has like about 15,000 subscribers. I met people from like Sweden, I met people from like Finland, and Iceland, or I didn't even know people lived in Iceland, but I don't know, maybe they don't, who knows. But but I met all these different people, so yeah, if you can't understand what I'm saying, just turn on the closed caption, which should be available probably within a day of the video rehearsal. Because I understand not everybody's going to be American watching this, so if you have trouble understanding what I'm saying, just turn on the closed caption and let's get on with it. So put it in the 1 watt mode, not the 0.1 watt mode, which is what I suggested before. So I think there's a little bit more for freedom, right? Unfortunately, I can't turn it up louder than this because I don't want to disturb other people. So other than that, so for this sound, so what I've done is, I know this is controversial. I know you're probably not going to agree with me, but gut the mids, okay? So just no mids at all, 0 mids. So I turned down the mids to just 0. So when you get that, you get this sound. Right. Right? That's the only way you're going to get this, right? That kind of quick response. So I don't want to give you the exact EQ because I want to teach you how to fish. What's the point in me telling you my exact EQ? Then you're not going to be able to dial it in. So the reason I'm doing this is that when you play a show, right, here's the biggest secret with tone. Tone, guitar tone especially, is dependent on the room ambiance, okay? So this tone is going to work at this volume, in this room, where the speaker is placed, right? And that's pretty much it. But it's going to require a little bit of tweaking, right? I dialed this in yesterday. I came again today to check it out. And then it's like I almost had to tweak it a little bit but I didn't do it today. I didn't tweak any of it, but it sounds like it needs just a little bit of a tweaking, right? So that's the way it's going to be, is that you got to be able to dial in the sound when you play a show. So when you play a show, it's going to be completely different because the sound basically fills in the room, right? So it's really dependent upon the size of the room. So what works here might not work somewhere else, but so that's why I said I've given you how to do it, right? Take it off the 0.1 watt mode, even though I said put it on the 0.1 watt mode last time, which has its purposes. So this gives it a little bit more freedom because we want to make it as easy as possible to play. And then, like I said, gut the mids. That's why you get the sound. Now, if you're going to play live, you might want to just put a little bit of mids, but not too much. Basically, you know, for the studio, this is good. And then also I said push in the tone shift knob on this amp, DSL1. You're not going to be using this amp live probably, but anything, because the reason that this has a tone shift knob is because that it doesn't have a presence knob. Because if they give you the presence knob for this price point, nobody would buy the 100 watt head, I suppose. So anyway, push that in. What that does is that it compacts the sound so that it's not all that big kind of that noisy kind of sound. It's like compacted down. So that's pretty much all I've done. And I've added an EQ pedal, a vintage EQ pedal, and then basically you can add a little bit of mids on the pedal if you want to, not in the amp itself. So I've kind of played around with it. I think it's basically just like whatever you can live with, whatever you can tolerate with, okay? So the basic formula here is gut the mids, right? That's the thing. That's basically the mid scoop sound, so that you can get this kind of freedom. It sounds kind of tinny today, I don't know why. I don't know what it's going to sound like through there, even if it's going to be loud enough for you to get picked up. But anyway, that's the thing. So I'll play a couple of riffs from each song, and then, we can see how it's like, right, you can see how easy that is. So I think this is sort of the ultimate thrash tone, if you feel that Justice is, the best album. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel like the way the sound evolved, right, they had to go to this tone because it was more intricate now, and then there's a lot more of like, that kind of stuff that's like, that you can't do with like a Marshall. So what I've done here is basically thinned out that Marshall to give you that kind of Mesa Boogie sound. Mesa Boogie, I don't know what the deal is with them. Maybe they think their shit doesn't stink, but it's like $3,000 for an amp. $5,000, $3,000. So the price point is like super high, right? So, and we talked about this to where if you buy like a 100 watt amp, unless you have a band, you're never going to use it. Like you're never going to use it in a bedroom situation. And I think even a low wattage amp for Mesa Boogie is like super expensive. So what we've done here is we're basically just thinned out the Marshall sound. It's all just really about the EQ, right? Allowing certain frequencies to go through, suppressing certain frequencies. And that's why we have an EQ pedal, and then I have a noise gate going through this. This is the sound. I believe this is as close to as you can get it with a little bit of tweaking, okay? So we'll just play one or two riffs here and there. Like I said, I'm not a big, I don't want to say, well, should I say this? I'm not a big Metallica fanboy, but I like their song arrangements, and I like the sound. And ultimately, this is about to where I'm going to record my own music and put it out, right? And the songwriting session is coming. I know I've been kind of leading up to it over and over again, but I think it's going to come. So, all right. So we'll just do a little bit of each. One or two riffs from each song, I guess, from Justice. Okay? We're focusing only on Justice. All right. So I'll just play some random riffs. If you know this album, you probably know this, right? So. Damn close, because I listened to the original track and then I was like, I compared it, side by side, and it's pretty close. Still, this is very awkward to play. Like I said, I'm sitting on a drum stool. This is like super awkward for me to play, and it's hard for me in this position to reach all this stuff, so I might make a mistake here and there. And this is not about you know how all these YouTubers kind of show off how well they can play. I'm actually not a YouTuber. This is more like a documentary. I don't even know what that is, or like a, you know, like a TikTok or what. I mean, I know what it is, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm not one of these guys that are sitting here just to do it for whatever they're doing it for. So I don't do that. I just do this for basically documentary purposes, right? This is like documentary information, and I think everybody who watches my videos, they understand that. I'm not, you know, trying to do some, you know, stupid shit and, you know, be a clown and then, you know, trying to, just like every other person on YouTube, right? So I see YouTube as like a documentary, sort of just kind of, you know, put it out. So anyway, yeah, it is going to be hard. So I guess my point there was that I'm not going to be able to play it perfect. So I'm going to write my own song. That's what it's about. This sound is a good kind of jumping off point. So this allows that freedom to write, because you're going to need that freedom to write with the right guitar tone, right? So the right guitar tone can inspire you to write, you know, the good riff. So that's what this is about. And then, you know, I mean, of course I like this stuff, or else I wouldn't be playing it. So anyway, so I'll just keep playing one or two riffs here and there, I guess. And then kind of, you know, talking about it a little bit. So going back to the Eye of the Beholder. So when you kind of think about that, right? It's a very sort of, I talked about this before, where it's a very sort of machine gun type of attack, right? So if you watch each of their guitar, sort of their technique progression from each album, right? Each album they tried to sort of reinvent themselves, which is the way it should be, right? It's nothing new. Everybody's done it. Sabbath has done it. So basically, you don't want to sound like the album before. If you look at Sabbath, right? Master of Reality sounds nothing like Paranoid, right? That's a huge leap, right? And then Paranoid, and after that, Volume 4 doesn't sound like anything like that. And then, you know, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath doesn't sound like anything else like that. So you get to this point, which is basically the vertex. So this is where you peak. And then after you peak, and that's it. And after that, it's like, oh, where else do we go? And they went back to, like, you know, playing straight rock and roll. Every band goes through that. Same thing here with Metallica. So I would say the peak is actually Master of Puppets. And then after that, as far as like sound, right? And then after that, they tried something completely different. So you're not going to know the nuances of it unless you try to play it. So here, like I said, it's that machine gun type of attack. This whole album is like reminiscent of like something militaristic, like, you know, it's like, they never did that before. So James is writing those type of like machine gun type of riffs, and, you know, and I think there's a little bit of pun intended here with like Injustice for All, saying that that's it. You can't get any more complicated. This is very sort of pretentious. Like I would say, the songwriting is very pretentious. Like, you know, like, you know, it's like, dude, why do you have all these parts in here for, right? So it's very pretentious, very show-offy, to show that, hey, we've written the most complex piece of material. This is as far as thrash can go, you know, in sort of this mainstream kind of way, and Justice for All. So I think that's really kind of like, you know, even though it's a movie and stuff, they kind of follow the Iron Maiden format where, you know, you make songs out of movies and things like that. So I think in a kind of ironic way, that's the statement they're making, is that you can't get faster than this, you can't get harder than this, you can't get more complicated than this, and Justice for All. Because at the time that, you know, that's what, you know, that's what was going on, right? So after that, they couldn't do that anymore. They went into the Black Album. I will do a Black Album thing later, which is a different kind of thing. So my whole thing here is, my point is that this is very sort of machine gun attacky. Everything sounds like that in this album, right? So that's why they had to go to this sound. It's a very thinned out sound, to where it's like you got the mids, because if you turn up the mids, this is not going to sound right. This album has like a demo quality to it, almost like a tinny kind of demo quality to it. And then my friend used to say the reason he didn't like this album, because this album sounds like Lars was playing like Tupperware, like sounds like he's hitting plastic or something. I think it's actually okay. I just think that this album would have been great if it had the Master of Puppets production, right? If Cliff were alive, this would have sounded like Master of Puppets. Like that level of production, for sure, I think. He wouldn't have let this out like this. So, or unless they wanted to go garagey, because they went too mainstream and now they wanted to maybe go more garage sounding and more kind of demo sounding, right? So what I found was that Metallica on their website, not the website, the YouTube channel, they had like pre-mixes of Justice. That almost sounds better than the final album. That sounds better. So this sort of explains why the bass is missing. That kind of controversy is because when you have a sound that's gutted, but where the mids are gutted, right? If you put bass in there, that's all you're going to hear is the bass. So you almost have to turn that down so that this type of guitar will kind of flourish, right? And what thrash album can you hear the bass anyway? Even like Cliff Burton stuff, you can hear it on the studio, but then live it's just you can't really hear it, right? So I think it's maybe it was done for that because it sounded so raw and demo-y that putting the bass in there is gonna kind of throw the guitars off. So anyway, a lot of two-note chords like we talked about. So it's a lot of stuff like this riff right here. Like if I just chug on the E, it's not going to sound full. So he's chugging on the whole. So there's a lot of that two-note riffs in this album. Right? And again, I'm sorry if you can't hear it. If it's too low volume, just turn up the your speaker. So anyway, so I think that's valuable insight. We talked about all this. We talked about the machine gun type kind of riffing. We talked about why they might have chosen this sound. We talked about why the bass is kind of turned down. And then we talked about why each album is kind of progressive. I think I'll make a video just on that, how the kind of the motifs have changed. Like this is all about two chord phrasings. And it's like... Anyway, I can't play every single variation there is because it's just so complicated. It's like this time it's like down out, and then the next time it's like down out. So it's just, I'm not going to be able to play. And I didn't really practice before I picked up this guitar today. So anyway, I'll probably play that better in the other videos. So there you go with that. Let's see what else. This type of sound, right? It makes you, this type of thin that sound, it makes you give that real fast picking, right? Real fast picking works out really well. Also the palming works out really well. Get that right here. Last time I played this, that was so hard because the mids were slightly turned up. Now the mids are gutted. This is how easy it is. Right? Right? So I think it makes the palm better. Right. Anyway, let's see. What else? I'm trying to think. Anyway, so that's the thing, guys. I think this is closer to that sound. When I record my song, I think I'm going to use something like this. And then we'll talk about how if you put the mids up a little bit, it's a different kind of attack. So if you want that tight attack, right, I think this sound works really well. Okay? And then also that palm mute. Right? That high kind of frequency palm mute. So I think for a lot of that stuff, this works really well. Let's see, what am I missing here? Am I missing something else? I think I played a riff off every song, right? I'm not going to play one because, you know, it's kind of played out, right? You've heard it a million times. I don't really know that song anyway. So, weird, right? I know all the other riffs from all the other songs, but I don't know that song. Oh, this one, this song here, right? So, yeah. Right, that song. So this is when I said the fast picking. It makes a lot of sense. I can hardly play it because I'm, you know, kind of like sitting in this weird position. Then it's like that right there. Right, you're not going to be able to do that if you don't have this type of sound. Anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, you know, I played one or two riffs from like every song on there, I think. Tell me what you think. I think this is the definitive sound. Again, I took it off the 0.1 watt mode to give that kind of... kind of give it that freedom. And then gutted the mids, and then put an EQ pedal on it. So tell me what you think. I think this is a good sound here. And maybe I'll just, let's see. Maybe I'll just play it out with something. I think this is a great album, you know, probably the first really progressive, you know, metal album, right? Now, progressive rock was really big in the 70s, and you can find, I think, maybe like 100 different bands that were progressive, you know, like real prog rock. Not the stuff that's out there today, which is not really prog rock, right? Like real prog rock, thanks to YouTube, you can find all these, you know, bands that are from basically from 1968 to like 1977. There are like 100 bands that, you know, just even on YouTube, where it's, you know, progressive rock, prog rock, right? But it had really never been pushed to the metal side. So this is really the first kind of like the prog metal album, I would say, because there's so many variations. Like I said, the disclaimer that I couldn't possibly remember everything. Like in this thing right? Like the first time it's like this, and the second time it's like this, and then it's like, right? So you got to remember all that stuff. That's like within the first 30 seconds, right? And then just variations of that, almost in a progressive manner where it just keeps going on and on and on and on. And then so it's like, I think in a lot of ways, this is like groundbreaking. This is really groundbreaking. This was more progressive, I think, than like, even like a lot of the other bands that were, doing this kind of stuff. And I think it opened the door for a lot of stuff. So it's a very sort of dark, progressive album. The only thing that sucks about this album is the production. Like if this album only had the production of Master of Puppets, right, this would be like shit, dude. So that you can kind of clearly hear everything. So this sounds like a demo. So I think some of the nuances are kind of lost, right? They should almost re-record this album. That would be kind of cool. Like a lot of bands are doing that now. So we're like, they're re-recording classic albums only because of, the sound sucks so bad, right? So, and I think that would be kind of cool. Tell me what you think. I think we've covered a lot here. We've covered about the songwriting. We've covered about, how demented James is to write this kind of stuff, especially this album, right? It's not really a happy sounding album, right? It's really kind of, it's the culmination of aggression from the first three. And it's like they had to just push it to the extreme. And we talked about a lot of things here, the guitar sound, and then, I don't know, tell me what you think. And I'll use something like, I might not use this exact sound, but I'll use something like this to write, our own music that we're going to put out. So stick around for that. And then I might even have a live songwriting session that I'll do up, in the coming weeks. All right. Talk to you later, guys.